Hi, I'm Jonathan J, and on this video I'm going to review 6 of my favorite business buying books. Hi, on this video we're going to do something a little bit different. I went to my bookshelves and I pulled out 6 books that I have enjoyed that are on the subject of business and business buying, and I think you might enjoy too. The first one is one that you don't come across very often. It's a book by Albert J Dunlap, and it's called Mean Business. And the reason it's called Mean Business is because he means business, and also it's mean business. I mean, this is the guy they used to call Rambo in a suit. And in this book, you'll discover how Mr. Dunlap turned around some of the largest companies in the United States. Now, his approach was always to take action very, very quickly. So he would assess the situation and then, like Rambo in a suit, he would jump into action to make the cuts. He was very good at making the tough decisions that other people didn't want to make. And the companies that he was called into, like Scott Tissue, were companies that had got very flabby because they were run by other companies. And the boards were very complacent with their private jets and expense accounts. And Mr. Dunlap went straight in there and put it right. It's a great book. I've actually read this one twice because I enjoyed it so much the first time, so I would highly recommend it. Now, the next on my list is a British book called From Jungle to Eternity. Now, with this book, I believe it's, I think this actually is a self-published book. I bought the book years and years ago, loved it so much that I lent it to someone. Couldn't remember who I lent it to, so I never got it back. Went and bought another one, recommended it to someone else, lent it to them, never got it back. So this is actually the 3rd copy that I have, which I hope shows you the high regard in which I hold the book. And Steve Bennett is a Midlands-based entrepreneur, and I remember one of his early businesses, which was the jungle.com business. Now, if you think back 22, 23 years, you would very often in PC magazines and computer magazines get color catalogs of all different types of software that you could buy for your computer to speed it up, to add graphics. All very dated now with the internet, but back then it was absolutely cutting edge, and that was Steve Bennett's company. And I remember being very impressed with his marketing way back then. Since then, Wine TV, that's an interesting story, and Jewelry, Gems TV as well, so shopping channels, and he has been very, very successful over the last 20 years. It's a great book. It tells the story, so it's more of a startup and business development and then sale of the company than it is about buying businesses. But if you're interested in buying businesses, I think these are the sorts of books that you should be reading. Here's another one. As you can tell from this is a very, very old copy that I've owned for a long time. Victor Kiam. Now, if you are of a certain vintage, you will remember Victor Kiam as the Remington shaver man. And he was so frustrated with his advertising agency for producing boring ads, he said, "I'll be in the advertisement." And Victor Kiam was the man who said, "I liked the shaver so much, I bought the company." And that's exactly what he did. He tested the Remington shaver against other shavers every morning for a week. So one side of his face he shaved with the Remington, the other side of his face he shaved with the competitors. And at the end of the week, he realized that Remington were the best shaver on the market. Now, the most interesting part of this book, from my perspective, is how he put together the money, how he raised the money to buy the company. So a great read, highly recommended. Now, buying a business is all about negotiation. And if you want to learn negotiation, Chester Karrass is a fantastic person to learn negotiation from. And there are a number of Chester Karrass books available. Some of them actually quite expensive when you buy them because you can only buy them secondhand and you have to dig a little deep to find them. But check this out on Amazon. This particular one, and I've got several, but this is the one I enjoy the most. In business as in life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And there are some great paragraphs and lines and approaches that you can use when buying a business. Now, I've always been a fan of the Karrass negotiating method, and again, more than 20 years ago, I used to see their adverts in airline magazines. You don't see them so frequently now, but Chester Karrass was always the place to go to if you wanted to learn negotiating skills. Highly recommend. In fact, actually their lead European trainer teaches negotiating skills to my mastermind and protege deal making clients. Then this is a more recent book. This only came out a couple of years ago, called The Alchemists. And The Alchemists is the story of how Jim Ratcliffe started off as an employee and over 20 years bought other businesses in oil and gas and manufacturing and chemicals to create a huge business, all via acquisition. It actually made him the UK's richest person in 2018, which is quite staggering. Again, never started a business from scratch. He was an employee 20 years ago. Think back to what you were doing 20 years ago. 20 years later, one of the UK's richest people, richest person in 2018, according to the Sunday Times Rich List, all off the back of buy and build, of building a business via acquisition. And then the last of my 6 books I want to mention today, and I've got hundreds more that I could talk about, is actually a book about selling businesses. It's called Built to Sell. As you can see, it's a slim book. It's a book that you really can read while you're on holiday, in just a couple of evenings. It's not a big read at all, and it's a very, very straightforward set of principles, and it's very, very well written. And John Warrilow, who actually interviewed me on his Built to Sell podcast a couple of years ago, is a wonderful collector of sales strategies for people thinking of selling their business. And in this book, the Built to Sell methodology is very, very straightforward and very, very clearly explained. It's how to create a business that is built to sell. And some businesses sell easier than others and command a higher value than others. And I speak to people who want to sell their business every single day, and some people just create businesses that are just so hard to buy because they haven't built them to sell them. Now, if you've got a business and one day you're thinking of selling it, and let's face it, most business owners do think about selling their business at least twice a week, then I would suggest that you get a copy of this and create a business that is built to sell. You will do yourself a favor, and you will also do business buyers like me a favor, because you will make a business that is so much easier to buy and so much more desirable to buy. So those are my top 6 books that you should be reading if you're thinking of buying a business. I will put the titles and the authors in the description below this video so you can go and look for them yourself. If you've enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell, and every time I release a new video about buying a business, you will receive a notification. I will see you next time.